No Harley stuff today. Today I am installing the S&B 68 gallon fuel tank, as well as the SPE fuel filter conversion on a 2019 F450 Super Duty. And a lot larger than this tank, gets rid of the plastic fuel water separator, but I'm going to have to clean this up. It looks like it's leaked at some point, made a mess, so I have to get that cleaned off before I convert these hoses over. So I took a pressure washer and cleaned all this up, took these hoses off and cleaned them up, let them dry out. And for that reason, and because of all the muck that was on the hoses, I'm going to put fresh diesel in it. I'm not going to reuse any of the diesel that was left in this tank, which wasn't much. And all of this transfers over here, except the fuel water separator. It'll transfer straight over into here, and I'll show you that after the fact. So I have the tank ready to go back in. One of the primary reasons I am doing this video is not a full step-by-step install. S&B tanks actually has some great videos on these for the long bed as well as the short bed. A-Rod with Powerstroke Tech Talk actually has a good video on putting one of these in a short bed truck, and SPE has a technical video on how this actually works, not how to install it, but how it works. But I never found anything online about doing them both at the same time, so I'm basically showing you the advantages of doing both of these at the same time. So of course, one of the big advantages to doing this is being able to access all these lines together. However, an even bigger advantage is, because I have the tank out, the original line here, actually, I took this original line off. This is the line that goes from the tank up to what used to be the end of the old tank and back toward the truck to the main fuel filter there. SPE with this kit gives you two hoses, and their original intent was you're probably putting this on with the tank on the truck. So the way they set it up is you take these two hoses, you go over the frame, down to where they're spliced in there, unhook that splice, and you're splicing both hoses in. Technically, I guess what will happen then is that original line, fuel will go down that line down to your new SPE connection, and then back up here to the fuel filter. What I've done is basically gotten rid of the original line, so I'm coming out of the fuel filter to here. So now your fuel is going from here to the filter, then out of the filter, and then down to there to go to the truck. And because I removed the other filter, this line can run down there. So now you don't have four hoses going that way, you only have two like originally. So now you don't have fuel going that way down to the splice, back to here, and then back there again. So it's cutting out the middleman, I guess. And also, to do that, you would have to have the filter removed, because you have to remove this guard to get the old line off and the new line on, to get it that way to start with. With the tank on the truck, you wouldn't be able to get this off. One other thing with these cat filters that go in here, I know your dad and your grandpa and everybody else told you, just like mine, put the filters on hand tight and that's it. However, these cat filters are a little different, and they even tell you on it to put it on hand tight, and then this one you give one full revolution. This is the main fuel filter. Oil filters the same way. The fuel water separator is put it on hand tight and go 3/4 of a turn. They even number it. It's on the top and then down about halfway on the other one. It's on the top and the bottom, as well as the oil filter. So if you put it on and you're looking at the 1, you turn it to the 3, and then it's tightened up. I promise you, if you don't, it will leak. I put these on my old truck and didn't tighten the old filter except hand tight, and it did leak, and I had to go back and do this. the cool thing about these filters, you can get them online. SPE sells them separately. You can get them online other places. Luckily for me, I'm less than 2 miles from a Cat dealership, and these are common filters. I can literally go pick them up at the parts counter and put them on my account and be right back home. If you got a good motorcycle jack, which I do, it's very helpful in this process. So there are the filters, and even as long as this filter is, it's tucked up under here pretty good. Here's the fuel water separator. So now, instead of pulling that whole bottom off the fuel water separator, you literally just unscrew these. Let the pressure off of this one first. About once a month, drain this one. I keep a mason jar inside the garage, drain it into just to check, see if there's any water, and you can tighten it right back up. And so here is where I said if you're putting it on with the tank on it, the lines would come over the frame here, go down the frame to this area, go back over the frame into this cavity. So then you would have 2 extra lines in this cavity if you didn't do it the way I did it. On the short bed truck, your original tank ends here, the OEM tank, and that fuel water separator is here. If you put on the S&B tank for the short bed truck, which I think is a 60 gallon, if I'm not mistaken, then there's a cavity here, but the fuel water separator is still in this area, sitting in this direction rather than this direction. And then there's the Cat oil filter, an adapter I've got from SPE. So it's actually a totally different adapter that replaces your original one, so that that filter screws straight on. I actually have an extra capacity oil pan as well. So one of the other features I like about this S&B tank kit is if you have the FX4 package, you have this skid plate under your tank, and this kit allows you to put it back on. The rear bolts are the same. Then it gives you 2 extenders on this side and longer bolts, and one on the other side with longer bolt, and it just bolts right back on, and you get to maintain that. Ironically, how I found out about S&B tanks is on my 14, the original cab mounts had gone bad, and they have a great reputation for great aftermarket cab mounts. So I had ordered them, and then in the process found out that they do these large tanks that fit where your OEM tank comes out. So now on the top side, you don't have this original OEM filter anymore, which has a tendency to start leaking right here and spraying fuel all over the place and catching fire, which of course you're fueling. SPE gives you this kit here that replaces not only the filter, but even the bowl it sits in comes completely out. And then now you don't have to change the filter up here and make a mess. You don't have to unhook these lines, which this return line here is real bad about breaking. Now you don't have to unhook these anymore at all. You just unscrew the longer filter down below, replaces this filter completely. Also, while I was there, I did the CCV reroute kit from SPE. So that box is gone, and also where it connects up here, which I have to, so on this I have to give full credit to Aaron from Powerstroke Tech Talk for giving me a hint of how to get this thing off, because on my 14 when I did this, getting that clamp off right there in that hose, I wound up having to go to confession after, because, well, you know. So he says take a crowbar, you literally put just a little pressure right here and wiggle it with one hand, you grab the hose with the other hand and pull it loose, and it pops right loose. I mean, you don't have to put a lot of pressure on it at all, anything. In fact, I probably said something ugly once it came off so easy, because I had such trouble with him before. So I'll link to his video down below where you can see how he does that. But 1,000 times easier, trust me. So everything's back on, tested for leaks. Just go ahead and tell you it's a messy proposition. If you saw earlier in the video, I had taken the box that the tank came in, spread it open and put it under it, because every fuel line you take loose is going to dribble on you. Also, as I pull the tank out, the old tank, and started taking stuff off of it, it leaks out here. So have some oil dry ready. Like I said, it is a messy proposition to do. It's all in. I had to reprogram with force scan the size of the tank so the mileage will show different. Gives a lot better mileage now. You can also change some other things while you're in there. So very pleased with it. I highly recommend doing this.